Hey, it's Zane, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in once again. And today I want to talk about why Bitcoin is the ultimate retirement asset. And before I get into today's discussion, I just want to say right up front, how inspired I am by the conversations I'm having with those of you who have booked one-on-one Zoom calls with me. I had a very full calendar yesterday. And I'm really inspired by what you guys are doing and the work that you've done on Bitcoin, learning about it, going down the rabbit hole, understanding the problems that Bitcoin solves, and being very proactive about your financial future. And that really takes courage, it takes guts, it takes understanding that you need to be in control. You need to be the one taking charge, because the reality is nobody's going to do it for us. In fact, I really believe that the odds are going to become more and more stacked against us. And so, my firm belief is that if you want to be free and self-sovereign in retirement, then I believe that Bitcoin is the only hope. And I'm going to explain to you why that is here in today's video. But if you've been sitting on the fence and thinking about having a call with me, I'd highly encourage you to not do that. Jump in, have a call. You're going to get tremendous value from spending an hour with me on Zoom. Everybody gets tremendous value from the calls. I'll find out what you need, how I can help. I'll guide you in the right direction with wherever it is that you're on your Bitcoin journey. You'll see a link in the show notes if you'd like to do that. But let's get into today's discussion. Let's talk about retirement and why Bitcoin is the ultimate retirement asset. I guess the first thing to really come to terms with is the fact that, retirement is a time for us where we don't want stress or financial hardship in our life. If we've worked for 30 or 40 years and we've toiled and we've been through different trials and tribulations and stress, and maybe raising a family and buying a home and having a career, all of those things demand a lot of us. And, things don't always go according to plan. I certainly know what that's like. And so there are lots of potholes in the road along the journey that we have to navigate. But when we get to our early 50s, might even be late 40s, and we start thinking about retirement, we've got to make sure that we have a really clear pathway that will give us the opportunity in this remaining window of, say, 10 to 15 years to get things right. We have to get things right. There's not a lot of room left for us to make tactical or strategic errors once we get into our late 40s and early 50s. It's not to say that we don't have plenty of good years left in us. It's just that, our dedication and our energy and our aptitude for putting everything on the line, it really starts to wane. We've already dedicated 30, 40 years of our life to a business or a career and all of those things. And so if you're anything like me, you get to this stage in life and you're saying to yourself, what do I need to do for the next decade in order to, get to 60 or 65 or whatever it might be, and know that I've done everything I can to make sure that I never have to worry about money again, I never have to work again if I don't want to, I can live life on my terms. And so what Bitcoin does is it really promises, in my mind, two key things, and this really speaks to why it's such a powerful retirement asset. The first thing it does is it promises wealth acceleration. And, wealth acceleration is important because as the opportunity for us to create businesses, grow businesses, to earn an income through our career and whatever it might be, as that window closes, we want to make sure that we're protecting our financial energy, our lifetime savings, our capital. We need to make sure we're preserving it in an asset that can't be debased, that can't be stuffed with. And that's really important. And Bitcoin is the only asset on earth that enables that. And so the reason why Bitcoin is the fastest horse in the race, and it has been for the last decade, outperforming everything else to the tune of 8 to 9 times, the reason it's doing that is because Bitcoin is the only truly finite fixed supply monetary instrument that humanity has ever seen. And when you start to really digest that and solidify your belief in that reality, in that fact, you start to ask yourself, well, where else is there a place that I can park my economic value other than a finite asset? That basic economics tells you that as the demand for that monetary instrument grows, given that it is a finite asset, the only place that it can go in terms of value is up. And it's already doing this. And so it's no good sitting there saying, oh, when is this Bitcoin revolution going to happen? When is Bitcoin going to start transforming the financial system? When are we going to shift to a Bitcoin standard? If you're paying attention, you'll know that that's already happening. You can't wait for an announcement from the government or the treasurer or the central bank to say, hey guys, we're just letting you know that all of a sudden after 55 years we've decided that we've come up with a new system now. We're shifting you all onto a sovereign money system, a decentralized system called the Bitcoin standard. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. So don't wait for an announcement. If you're sitting there waiting for the government or your financial planner or the central bank or the treasurer to tell you that now's the time to get on a Bitcoin standard, you're doing yourself and your family a grave injustice. You really are. And so you have to get on this life raft yourself. It takes work, it takes study, it takes being proactive, it takes maybe a night or two off watching your favourite show on Netflix and instead tuning into an hour-long Bitcoin podcast that is actually going to further your horizons, further your knowledge about the problems that Bitcoin solves. It takes work, it takes effort, and most people, by the time they get to their late 40s, early 50s, they're out of gas. They don't have the bandwidth to be able to learn anything new. But when it comes to your financial future, you have to take the time to learn about this, because like it or not, Bitcoin is going to reshape the financial system as we know it. It's already happening. It's just that you may not be paying attention. You may not know about it yet. But the minute you understand what Bitcoin is doing, how it is repricing the world, how it is repricing every other asset that you think is the best performing asset, be it the stock market, be it real estate, be it gold, whatever it is that you believe in, start repricing it in Bitcoin and you'll quickly see that the value of it is falling quite rapidly. And these are important insights that you need to have front of mind when you're thinking about retirement, because you want to make sure that you're backing the fastest horse in the race. Not the second, not the third. You want to make sure you're on the fastest horse, and Bitcoin is the fastest horse. Not to mention the fact that now we're about to enter a new age, which is going to really drive this great wealth transformation, this wealth transfer. The new age is that institutions are getting involved. Governments are getting involved. They understand that Bitcoin is here to stay. I mean, you've heard the saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they want to fight you and try and ban you, try and discredit you. But in the end, they join you. And this is what's happening now. They're actually joining Bitcoin, and they're telling you what they're going to do. They're telegraphing it. They're announcing. The US government has announced that they want to acquire 1 million Bitcoin over the next 10 years. Nobody quite knows how they're going to do it, because Bitcoin is a completely scarce asset and 95% of the 21 million have already been mined. So how on earth is the US government going to actually be able to acquire 1 million Bitcoin? There's only 2 million odd Bitcoin on exchanges worldwide. So how are they going to do that without, or in a budget neutral fashion, which is the promise? In other words, they're not going to print money to do it, and they're not going to raise taxes to do it. So how are they going to do it? Some believe they're going to divest some of their gold holdings in order to do it. Well, what's that going to do to the price of gold? Everybody who's moving towards gold right now, it only takes the US government to say, well, hang on a minute, we're actually going to start selling gold to buy Bitcoin. What do you think is going to happen to the price of gold? And so this is the environment we're in right now. We're entering not the analog age, we're entering the digital age. And so what you and I need for retirement is digital scarcity. We need digital scarcity. We need to park our financial energy, everything that we've worked so hard to acquire over the last 3 or 4 decades. We need to park it in an emerging technology, not a dying technology, an emerging technology, which is the digital age, and in something that is absolutely scarce, and that is what Bitcoin is. And so I don't even really know where I want to go with this video today. I kind of had some notes here, but I feel like I just want to talk from the heart today because, you guys, you're inspiring me to keep showing up, to keep sharing. And, the journey that some of you people are on is just so empowering. It really is. So keep going. I'm glad that I've been able to add some value to your journey. And I know that we're going to stay connected in all of this. But the reality is, now's the time for us to be getting everything lined up, getting our ducks in a row. Bitcoin promises wealth acceleration for all of the reasons I just mentioned. The other thing that it promises, that no other asset promises, is the ability for you to become self-sovereign. There is no other asset on earth that enables your complete detachment from the system, complete financial autonomy. You can take hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of financial value with you at the drop of a hat, whenever it suits you, anywhere in the world, and nobody can stop you, so long as you have access to your seed phrase in your head. That is the promise of Bitcoin, and that's what makes it so powerful. And it's also the most ubiquitous and liquid and optimally traded commodity on earth, 24/7, 365. So if you need to liquidate some of your Bitcoin, then you have the ability to do that pretty much instantly. So, if you want to take $1 million worth of gold over borders, good luck with that. If you want to take your $5 million beachside property with you over borders, good luck with that. It's not going to happen. If you want to take more than $10,000 cash in your bag across borders, it's not going to happen. In fact, just getting $10,000 out of the bank now is a challenge. I'm seeing posts everywhere on social media, on the mainstream news. There was a talkback show, I think it was on the Ben Fordham show just 2-3 weeks ago. There was a whole uproar, a whole session on a young couple who were locked out of their bank account, I think by CBA, and had been customers for many, many years. They gave them no reason. They basically just said they no longer want them as a customer anymore. There's many stories like that that are starting to emerge. People are struggling to get their money out of the bank into Bitcoin brokerages and exchanges in certain cases because the banks are nervous. They know that once cash starts leaving their custody in big waves, then it's game over for them. And so, I think the banks are going to become the blockbuster, and Bitcoin, of course, is the Netflix. Blockbuster, just a cumbersome multi-billion-dollar institution that never thought that their lunch could be cut, and Netflix came along and completely destroyed their business. Same thing happened with Kodak. The same thing's happening with the taxi industry, with Uber. The list goes on and on and on. Name me one digital technology, one transformational digital technology over the last 20 years that hasn't come in and disrupted the traditional incumbent and hasn't stayed. I just can't think of one. We are at 1999. If you want to draw an analogy, We are at 1999 with internet adoption. This is what you can relate to when it comes to where we are on the Bitcoin adoption curve. 1999, when we were still sending faxes in business, no one was using email. Certainly wasn't a ubiquitous part of what we were incorporating into our daily communication. Nobody was shopping online. Everybody thought that online shopping was just a fad. But look at what happens over time. And so those of you who are already on this life raft, who are already learning about Bitcoin and spending your time and energy furthering your conviction and your knowledge, you guys are the future. You're the ones who are going to set yourself up for life, and you're also going to ensure that those you care about and love are safe. They're on this life raft with you, even if right now they're choosing to ignore you, they think you're crazy, they don't want to listen to you. That happens. Even the people closest to you won't necessarily believe what you believe when it comes to Bitcoin until they do the work. Okay? And so, Bitcoin, I keep saying to everybody that it really promises two things. It's wealth acceleration and it's wealth protection. Wealth protection is a really important feature that you and I need to be paying attention to right now, because every other asset is exposed. Every other asset is exposed to the centralized system, and you and I have no say, no control over rule changes. No matter how dystopian or draconian those rule changes might be, whether we care about it, agree with them, don't agree with them, what our voice might say, it doesn't matter. For as long as our assets are exposed to the central banking system, to the centralized asset system, if we need to have permission from a middleman, accountant, financial planner, real estate agent, broker, whatever it might be, for as long as we need permission in order to access our wealth, if the rules that change don't suit us any longer, we're stuffed. We're stuffed. And it doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you're going to be caught up in that system. And just wait until they start putting caps on how much money you can draw out of the bank. Just wait until they launch central bank digital currencies, and all of a sudden you have to download an app and access to your money is via a surveillance money system, which puts controls over your spending patterns and ties everything to your medical history and whether or not you take the shot this month, and your carbon credits and your social credit score. All of those things are coming, and Bitcoin is the only way out. Okay, and this is why, if you've worked your ass off for the last 30 or 40 years and you've got yourself into a position now where you can start making some decisions about how you want your life to look in 10, 15 years from now, if Bitcoin is not part of that conversation, then I don't know why you're here. I can't help you. And so, if you're sitting on the fence, you have to understand that Bitcoin is an asset that you will either choose to embrace or eventually you'll be forced to embrace. But if you wait until you're forced to embrace it, it's unfortunately going to be too late. It's going to be too late for you to allocate and benefit from this great wealth transformation. And so, I'm not even going to look at my notes today, because I just wanted to kind of share that message once I really started to feel what I wanted to say today. I don't always know exactly what I want to say on these videos. I never edit my videos. A few people say to me, why do you do your videos in the truck? Would prefer you to be in an office or behind a computer to make you sound more official and more credible. I have to ignore those comments. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And we're on a journey together. All right. So I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave your comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as to why Bitcoin is the ultimate retirement asset. And please like, share, and subscribe as well, because I want to keep growing this community. I'm going to reach capacity with doing these calls at some point, but I have ideas and plans and how we can build this community out and start to help each other. So I'm working on that in the background as well, a few resources. I'm going to Bali for a couple of weeks with my wife for a much needed break. I will be still doing videos. I'm going on Sunday. I might get a video or two out to you before then, but once I go to Bali, I won't have the truck set up, but I will be under a hut somewhere talking to you from there. But again, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. It means a lot. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. This is Zane signing out. Have a great day. Bye for now.